Seen or go ahead.
Oh
You
yeah,
first.
I'm glad. Yeah, Marco is probably like the deck that I've been playing the most in 8, just because BY didn't change much, so I didn't really need much practice in 7. But Marco, surprisingly, is really strong with the new 7 cost Newgate. You have basically the perfect card to match up with your leader. Like your leader's in every turn power reduction, and now you have an every turn KO. I think it's really strong into decks like Bonnie, like even Purple Luffy, because they can just rest their bodies. You can use swing over them by minusing 4K, and then you just go wide really fastly with 9 cost Sanji. This
You heard my go. Marco's actually good, and I took that to heart. This past yesterday, we played in the top or play TCG Online Treasure Cup. Got top 32. I went 7-2. I was playing for top 8 in my last round, and unfortunately, I did a mulligan, and it didn't work out. So let's go ahead first talk about the matchups. Round 1, I played against Bonnie. I won. Round 2, I played against Dofi. I won. Round 3, played against Lucci. I won. Round 4, played against Lucci. I almost threw at the end of that game, but I still won. Round 5, Reiju got high rolled and puddinged. They swung 8, and I was like, maybe I should counter. They got puddinged into a bad hand, and they just went each G, and it was over. Round 6, a win against BY Luffy. I won. Round 7 went against BY Luffy. I won. Round 8 went against Purple Luffy. I won. And then round 9 we played against Bonnie and I lost. So it is what it is, but we keep moving. I don't really have any complaints. The deck really performed well. Actually way better than I could have ever imagined, truthfully. I've played it for the videos here on the channel, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a ton. Just do me a favor, just click that. Thank you so much. And we'll talk about it. So we'll go ahead, go through the deck list, then we'll talk a little bit about ideal hands, matchups, and a couple other things if I'd make any changes and things like that. So first up, the star of the deck. I think you have to play 4 of this because the moment you get to play this and establish a large body with it, you're instantly miles ahead of anyone. And especially like Lucci can't really answer it. So 4 Sanji is what we're playing. Absolutely, hands down, best card. This card makes the deck. I don't think this deck is as good because it's a 9-drop and you can play another 9-drop with it. Not Sanji, but this card just really puts in a lot of work. Also, 3 of the new Newgate. This one, you can play on curve, on 7, attach a Dawn to your leader, then use the leader ability and rest him in KO. Unfortunately, he doesn't have all the luxuries that Jack has, but he's kind of like our version of Jack, and he really puts in a lot of work if you can follow up with this into a Sanji. Because this lets you use your ability, and if you hit this off of a Sanji, also really good because you can hit it on 9, play this, then use the ability tap and remove a threat while establishing 2 of your own. And then we've got 3 Rayleigh. I think Rayleigh at 3 is fine. The Newgate, I would definitely go to 4. But we're playing Rayleigh as a target. This is one of the best red cards. This can answer Jack. You can also use it to just lower Jack so that way he's not a swinger. But you ideally, when you play this, you're going to want to KO something. And this with Marco ability will let you KO up to an 8K. So Luffy, Taro, Jack, anything in that realm. Jozu, anything like that. You're going to be able to clear. And then we played 2 Newgate. This card was actually really good. I could see an argument to play 3. There were instances where I wish I could hit a Newgate. Just because 7K leader is really good. 7K leader is really good. But these are all of the Sanji targets that are ideal. So we play 8 total targets for the Sanji. So 12 for the total Sanji package. Shout out Steak Frank. Steak Frank discovered this card right here, Emporio Ivankov, which you probably haven't seen played in a lot of Marco, but this card actually put in a lot of work, mostly because you can use it. So it's on play, reveal up to 1 card from the top of your deck, and play up to 1 character with a cost of 2. Then place the rest at the top or bottom of your deck. So 1, you can see what's on top of your deck. So you can use this before a Sanji turn to see what you got going on. So you can use it to just try and get an idea of what's coming and things like that. And if you hit a 2, we're playing 8 total targets. If you hit a 2, you can play it. which gives you a great body on 3. You can also on 4 attach 1, stack 1, and then use it and draw. And then also you can swing, and when she swings, you get to draw a card. So you have Marco's ability. You can use Marco's ability minus arrested, and then use this to swing. So as long as it's 6k or less, you're swinging on par with it, and you're going to get a draw, which is very nice. So this card actually puts in a lot of work at moments. And the card value, because this deck doesn't have any real value plays, this gives you a value play, mostly because we're playing this pudding. So this pudding is just from the Sanji deck. You activate main, you return it to your hand. So if you hit this off of that, you essentially just get a card. And then you're going to get another card, so Ivankov becomes a +1. And then the best card to hit off of it is Duval. Duval lets you search at the top 3. So on 3, he's just going to show you to where you see on 9. So this card is almost better on 5 because you want to see what you can play with Sanji. You want to stack a Sanji on 9 if you're going first. And in the same retrospect, Duval only does 3, but he is a blocker. And we're playing 8 total blockers. So we've got the Doflamingo. 4 of these. I think this is a staple because you can stack your top. If you can stack in where you draw the Sanji and then you're playing out a big body with the Sanji, that's the best play. And then 2, Ulti. Ulti lets you add a card without revealing it. So she gives you a value play. And then in addition to having a value play with Ulti, you can use the body. You can play her on 4, and you can still stack your top. So you could play her on 8, stack the top, and then use, like, you know, your 9. Or on 7, you can play her, and if you don't find anything, you can play like a Doflamingo, because you can bottom or top deck with Ulti. So you can stack either way, and if you're like, okay, well, there's nothing good there, I'll take this, bottom deck the rest, and then you can keep searching. And then if I was to cut anything, it'd probably be this card. I'm just gonna throw it out there. We'll kind of talk a little bit more about that. But 2 of the new ace. If you have a Whitebeard leader, this character gains rush. This character comes up sometimes. It's decent against Lucci, but then they tend to just attach all their Dawn and swing, and I don't find a lot of value saving him in that instance. Like, yeah, they lose a turn and don't establish a threat, which is great, and he takes all their Dawn, but he doesn't stick in the same way, you know? I did try to, like, let my opponents know, like, hey, if you try to remove this, I can minus him by 2k, just in case they didn't, because it's a new card. But, yeah, these are really the only bodies we play for, like, mid-game. Essentially, we're going to want to stack for the Sanji. And then the other 2Ks, so Pudding is a 2K. We're playing 12 total 2Ks. We're playing 4 Jozu, 4 Otama. One thing that I think I could have improved upon was, like, the use. I've never played a single Otama. I did not play Otama once. And I probably could have used it and leveraged it in some instances to try to do some combos. To, like, you know, either with Rayleigh or with my leader to remove a body and remove a threat. And this might have helped me just get a little bit further at removing a threat. I don't think it was relevant in the games I lost, but I think I could have won better in a couple of the games in which I played. But yeah, I did not cast a single Otama. Also, 3 Pudding. I think there's the argument for this at 4. You still get to dig through your deck. And one of the biggest challenges of Marco is, do I top deck this or do I bottom deck this? Do I have all the cards I have and knowing when to bottom and when to top? Like, because you want to go deeper and see cards. Like, I'm trying to find this Pudding. If I keep putting cards on top, I'm not getting any closer to finding Pudding. If I saw Pudding in my last game, I think it was super winnable. But unfortunately, I did not find a Pudding, and I mulled into a lackluster hand, and they searched 2 Doflamingos. I had made a poor call with one of my tech choices here, which are the events. We're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 events. 3 of those being Fire Fist. I think this was a correct call. This card also makes it a bit easier to bottom deck something. If you're not playing Dofi, you bottom deck this. And so it's almost kind of like when you play cards specifically for discard targets. Like, it's like good in this matchup, but it's a discard target elsewhere. This card is really good against Dofi. I expected a little bit more Dofi, and this was catered towards that. And then also, like, a Kuzan. The great thing, too, like, you can sometimes get very valued and have a lot of cards in hand. This card helps you get out of the range of Pudding. And on top of that, it can put your Ivankov live again. If you're at, like, 8 cards, then you're like, boom, Fire Fist. Discard another. I'm at 6. Ivankov. draw a card, things like that. So there's a lot you need to be cognizant of, because this card, of course, you draw one at 6 or less, and it comes up a lot. But yeah, we played 3 Fire Fist, again, to like Kuzan and things like that, because we want to make sure that those aren't in our way. We've got 2 Seaquake. You use leader ability, minus 2,000, and boom, pop it with a Seaquake. And then we've got Gravity Blade Raging Tiger. This card was okay. I never had like a Luffy really get ahead, in the sense that they played like Punch Luffy and then like Sabo, or Sabo then Punch Luffy, and I get the bottom deck both of them. So I never really got a crazy amount of value out of this card specifically. But I did play it like twice, and I think in one of them I just lost anyways. One of them was against Reiju. And so yeah, that is the deck. I'm going to pan over. We're going to see it in full screen. I'll kind of talk about any changes I'll make. All right, so here we have the full deck list in all of its glory. First things first, in terms of changes, I think ulti is cuttable. I don't think there was a game where I felt like her ability was super useful and super helpful. Like, her body came up, like, playing this down, but I think, because I never had an instance where I was, like, running out of counter, because we play 12 2Ks. We play 12 2Ks, which is a lot. We do have a couple of bricks. We got 1, 2, and 3 bricks and the events. So we got a couple of bricks in here. You could go Bad Manners Kick Course. I'm thinking another Rusher. Didn't mean the remover, but I'm thinking another Rusher in place of ulti. Just because I think that it comes up more. Haha. Rush, like anything, maybe Kid Killer, maybe Zoro. I don't think Ace. Ace is just very expensive, and I think the biggest misconception people have is we need to play more minus, and your leader is so efficient at minusing. We don't want to waste other cards because the deck's efficiency is not great. And that's like the big downfall, especially against decks that create value, like Reiju and Lucci. Those are scary. I could see the argument for Pudding. I think 4 Pudding is something that I would change. Maybe a 3rd Nuye. I wouldn't touch these just because you want to be able to blind an Ivankov. But I think 4 Newgate for sure. Seaquake came up, and when it did, it won games, but Gravity Blade probably cuttable. If you cut Gravity Blade, though, maybe it's like Bad Manners Kick Course, because you want to keep events for the Fire Fist. Yeah, we have some filter, but we want to make sure we have an event to discard, because that's the one downfall of this, and we're playing a couple, but we're making up for it with the draw power and the ability to stack. So if we need to put it next to an event, we can. If we need to serve it to us, we can. Things like that. Like we can go boom into him and determine what we want to draw. Things like that. So because of that, we kind of let this slide. But it also has a life trigger. I didn't get to trigger any life with this, but it is there. Removes Kuzan, removes Borsellino during their turn, and kind of catches off guard. There was a time where people used to attach down under their characters just to not get popped by life events, but now it's everything popped is cost related. So, but remember also you can't trigger it if they donned up their Kuzan. But yeah, I think Gravity Blade could be replaced, and ulti, which is no longer in the picture. I think upping this Newgate, because there was a couple instances where if I saw this in my games that I lost, this card could have put in a lot of work, specifically against Bonnie. And then a couple of the matchups as I was playing them, I was like, please give me a Newgate. And like, yeah, again, we have some filter, but the challenge is like, what do I bottom deck? You know, like these blockers come up, these stackers really matter. And it's like, okay. Like, I think ulti's fine, but yeah, maybe it's, you know, maybe it's Kid. Maybe it's Zoro for like the early game, because we don't have any mid game either. Maybe it's more Ace. I didn't play this Ace a lot. I also just didn't see him. Maybe it's this Monkey D. Luffy, so he can get that unblockable bonus. Just so maybe it's even Shanks. Maybe we just add to the top end. You slam down a Rayleigh, then you slam down a Shanks. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Because you could also then leader and like Otama, and then that Sabo can't block this Shanks. So if they only have one Sabo, he's going to really put in work, and he's going to generate value the turn he's played. So just things like that, you know, because we don't have a lot of rushers. Maybe it is like Rush Shanks. We have Jozu. Jozu is a rusher. This card can come up. Don't sleep on that. But yeah, I think those are like overall all the changes and thoughts on the deck. Now, in terms of an ideal hand, perfect hand for me is probably Doflamingo, Newgate, Sanji. Doflamingo, Newgate, Sanji. We want to, or I can go Ivankov, Newgate, Sanji. I want something that's going to generate, like, you know, maybe give me the Duval. Duval's also good, but you have to play Duval later. If you're going first. If you're going second, you're going to be able to stack whatever. But hitting this into like this and a Rayleigh, you go -2 on 1, -3, -3 KO, a 3K, and then now you have a 5K that got minus by 2, pop, and you just remove 2 bodies. And then you're just cooking. Like, just so many possibilities here. And then Newgate. I kind of like, Newgate's really good. It's just crazy how good he shows up to be. But yeah, I think ideal hand, you want a Sanji, Newgate. That's perfect hand, acceptable hand. You want one big body, and to some degree you want Ivankov or Doflamingo, and depending on the matchup you want a pudding. Like, I'll like Bonnie, you want pudding, Luffy, you want pudding, because when they awaken, they're going to have to play Flampeys, and then they're going to generate a ton of value. You just spit out your 9s, forcing them to awaken, then you drop a pudding and you just smack their face. And there's just nothing they can do about having to use a Flampay. It's gonna even if they stay at 5, they're gonna generate value because they go draw 2, and it's like, okay, now I awaken. Like, puts in a lot of pressure, puts in a lot of work. But yeah, again, don't forget to subscribe. I appreciate you all, and thank you so much for watching.